Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Siravana Chari Yamuna Siravana Chari Jara Dhamma Kunda Vihari Jaya Gopi Janavara Girivardhari Yashodanandana Pradijanaranjana Yamunathiravana Chari Yamunathiravana Chari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prabhupada Stories of Goodness Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prabhupada Stories of His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki ISKCON Founder Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premanandi. Seva Sudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the 6th canto, chapter entitled The History of the Life of Ajna. And this is text number 19. Sakrin Mahakrishna Padarvindayor Niveshitam Tad Gunviyag Rabgi Yahir Iha Nateyamam Pasham Britas Tatad Patan Swapne Pi Pashyanti Chirna Nishkritaha Srikin Mahakrishna Padar Vindayor Niveshitam Tad Gunarajaya Iha Nateyamam Pasha Britas Tatad Patan Sabbepi Pashyanti Chirna Nishkritaha Sakrin Mahakrishna Padar Vindayor Niveshitam Tad Gunarajaya Iha Nanteyamam Hasha Pratasta Chatadapitan Svapne Pi Pashyanti Chirna Nishkritaha Do you get this right? Sakrin Mahakrishna Padar Vindayor Niveshita Gaunarajaya Iham Nateyamam Pasha Britas Patan Swapnehi Pashanti Chirna Nishkritaha Sakrin Mahakrishna Padar Vindayor Niveshitam Gunarajaya Iha Nateyamam Pasha Britas Patam Sapnehi Pashanti Chirna Nishkritaha. Word of the word, please repeat. Sakrit, once only. Manaha, mind. Krishna Pada Arvindaya. Unto the two lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Niveshtam, completely surrendered. Tat, of Krishna. Gunaragi, which is somewhat attached to the qualities, name, fame, and paraphernalia. Rahi, by whom? Iha, in this world. Na, not. Te, such persons. Yamam, Yamaraj, the superintendent of death. Pashavrata, those who carry ropes to catch sinful persons. Cha, and Tat, his. Batan, order carriers. Swapane, api, even in dreams. Pashyanti, see, he, indeed. Chirna nishkritaha, who have performed the right type of atonement. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Translation. Although not having fully realized Krishna, persons who have even once surrendered completely unto him, his lotus feet, even persons who have even once surrendered completely unto his lotus feet, and have become attracted to his name, form, and qualities and pastimes, are completely freed of all sinful reaction, for they have thus accepted the true method of atonement. Even in dreams, such surrendered souls do not see the Mirage, or his order carriers, who are equipped with ropes to bind the sinful. Third word. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita 1866 says, Sarvadharma Prijya Gyanam Ekam Sharanam Praja Am Tvam Savna Bhavnebhyo Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. The same principle is described here. Sakra Mahana Krishna Padhara Vindayor. If by studying Bhagavad Gita one decides to surrender to Krishna, he is immediately freed from all sinful reactions. It is also significant that Shukadeva Goswami, having several times repeated the words Vasudeva Parayana and Narayana Parayana, finally says Krishna Padara Vindaya. Thus he indicates that Krishna is the origin of both Narayan and Vasudeva. Even though Narayan and Vasudeva are non-different from Krishna, simply by surrendering to Krishna, one fully surrenders to all his expansions, such as Narayan, Vasudeva, and Govinda. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita 7:7, Mata Paranata Nayat. There is no truth superior to me. There are many names and forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but Krishna is the supreme form. Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. Therefore, Krishna recommends the neophyte devotees that one should surrender unto him only. Mam ekam. Because neophyte devotees cannot understand what the forms of Narayan, Vasudeva, and Govinda are. Krishna directly says Mam ekam herein. This is also supported by the words Krishna Padara Vindaya. Narayan does not speak personally, but Krishna or Vasudeva does, as in Bhagavad Gita, for example. Therefore, to follow the dictation of Bhagavad Gita means to surrender unto Krishna. And to surrender in this way is the highest perfection of life. Parikshit Maharaj has inquired from Shukadeva Goswami how one can be saved from falling to various conditions of hellish life. In this verse, Shukadeva Goswami answers that a soul who has surrendered to Krishna certainly cannot go to Naraka, hellish existence. To say nothing of going there, even in dreams, he does not see Yamaraj or his order carriers who are able to take one there. In other words, if one wants to save himself from falling into Naraka, hellish life, he should surrender to Krishna. The word sakrit is significant because it indicates that if one sincerely surrenders to Krishna, he is saved, even if by chance he falls down, falls down by committing sinful activities. Therefore, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita 9:30, Abhijita Sudarjano Bhajate Mamananya Bhakt Swadar Eva Smahatya Samyagvya Avasito Isan. Even if one commits the most abominable actions, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly, because he is properly situated. If one never for a moment forgets Krishna, he is safe even by chance if he falls down by committing sinful acts. In the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita 2:40, the Lord says, Neha vikramana sosti pratyavya yo navedite swablam abhyasya dharmasya trayate mato bhayat. In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and even a little advancement on this path can protect one from a dangerous type of fear. Elsewhere in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Nahi kalyana krit kaschin durgatam tata ganchati. One who performs auspicious activity is never overcome by evil. The highest kalyana, auspicious activity, is to surrender to Krishna. That is the only path by which to save one from all falling down to the hellish life. Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati has confirmed this. Kaivalyam Nara, Kayate Jidasha Pura Aksha Pushpayate Dur Dante Nigeria Kalasvaruba Patali Prokrita Damastrayate Vishnu Parasu Kayate Vidi Mahanan Lendrayascha Gitayate Tatkarna Kataksha Vaibhavatam Tam Goram Evastunam. The sinful actions of one who is surrendered unto Krishna are compared to a snake with its poisonous fangs removed. Prakuta Damashriyate. Such a snake is no longer to be feared. Of course, one should not commit sinful activities on the strength of having surrendered to Krishna. However, even if one has surrendered to Krishna and happens to do something sinful because of his former habits, such sinful actions no longer have a destructive effect. Therefore, one should adhere to the lotus feet of Krishna very tightly and serve him under the direction of the spiritual master. Thus, in all conditions, one will be aktobhaya, free from fear. Om Jnana Timarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuramitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Thanks everyone for coming for class. Got our in-person audience as well as our Zoom audience. Apologies for the sniffling. I'm not sick. I just have bad allergies. So I thought we could talk a little bit about surrender. That's what Srila Prabhupada was stressing so much in the purport. So, what do you guys think of when you hear the word surrender? Like, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Fall down like a tree.
To fall down like a tree. Nice. Okay.
War.
That's true. He's been defeated.
Just committing yourself to
Giving up, like fully commitment, surrender. Yeah, I looked up on Google what surrender meant because I was interested in what Google Guru has to say. So surrender means, yeah, to cease resistance to an enemy or an opponent and submit to their authority. That sounds a bit harsh in the false ego way. I don't want to submit to someone's authority. But yeah, we have these surrender, yeah, in our minds, like you guys are all saying, means like we have something and then we're giving it to someone else. Like you're standing up tight like a tree and then you fall down. Or you're in a battle and you lose, you surrender, lost. You give up your victory. We're giving ourselves completely to something. It means we give up what we already have. So yeah, I was thinking this is quite an interesting definition. That we have, it's like we have something and then we have to give that thing up in order to take on the surrendering process. So I was thinking, what is this thing that we have that's preventing us from surrendering fully to Krishna? And I was writing down some notes for this, and then eventually I got to the conclusion of what it was. But at least there's many things, but one of the main things that keeps us from fully surrendering onto Krishna. And one of the main things I thought of was that Krishna is like the supreme authority, and the living entity is trying to enjoy separately from this supreme authority. And I was listening to this lecture recently where his one is Swami is saying that Krishna's he's the most expert person when it comes to pleasure, like when it comes to enjoyment. He's completely like he has the highest forms of pleasure that we can experience, that anyone can experience. Krishna is experiencing. And then the living entity is like trying to also enjoy, trying to get some pleasure out of life. But our comparison is like we're experiencing like the pleasure from like a little gold earring, and Krishna's experiencing the pleasure from like a gold life. So it's very, very different. And our pleasure is quite polluted in comparison to his. And it's kind of like, I'm not sure if you guys have spent any time around kids, but before I came here, I was nannying. And these kids I was watching, they had this little like mini kitchen set up going, they have these little ones. And they're very seriously like cooking things in this kitchen, like, taking their toys and like shoving them into the microwave and pressing all kinds of buttons. But like this, then nothing is actually get produced from this situation. They might play around, they might even, maybe they take some ingredients from the kitchen and they like try and make something, but nothing's actually going to actually come of this process. It's almost like, yeah, they're getting some pleasure from it. They're thinking they're the controller, but eventually they're going to get hungry and they're not going to be satisfied eating like Legos that they've microwaved. So, but the parent, they're looking at this and thinking, okay, this kid's just playing. Nothing they're doing is actually real and meaningful. I'll go to the kitchen and actually make something and then be able to satisfy them. So I think this is like Krishna, he's watching our attempts in the material world as we try and enjoy and control. He's thinking, oh, like the loving father, like, oh, this is like, you're just trying to do something here, but actually the you're not getting able to access the full potential of what you actually want to do. So this is like the spiritual master who sees, oh, you're trying, this is nice, but actually, like if you just do it like this, then you'll actually get a result you're looking for. So I was thinking it's this sort of level of like pride that gets in the way from us being able to surrender fully to Krishna. At least I'm sure, yeah, there's many different aspects, but this was just one that I was thinking of. That this, we have this, at least I can say for myself, I have this proud feeling like, who is this, Krishna? Who is this little blue boy who's going to try and tell me how to enjoy? I've got this down. I've been successfully trying to enjoy for, so many years. Of course, we don't think about all the times you've suffered as well that come along with it. But like, no, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. I know how to enjoy. I don't need you to tell me what to do. So it's this pride is what keeps us from saying, actually, no, I don't know what I'm doing at all. like, please Krishna instruct me, or please spiritual master, I'm your servant, instruct me. So there's this nice analogy in Bhagavad Gita of these two birds, the two birds in the tree. I'm sure you guys have heard this one before. That there's two birds in a tree. One bird is eating the fruits, and the other bird is watching him. And I remember reading this when I was first coming to Krishna consciousness, maybe a couple of years ago, and I made a note in my book about this. Because often Srila Prabhupada gives these really nice analogies, and then I have to take the analogy and like kind of transform it into something that I can understand on a little bit of a more personal level. And I was thinking, okay, so there's like two people at a party. One of them's the designated driver, and the other one's the one who's drinking. And the person who's drinking, they're drinking and drinking and drinking, and the other one's watching and just thinking, this guy's just gonna get so sick. You're just gonna get so like this is actually poisoning yourself. You're not gonna be happy. You're gonna experience some temporary pleasure, but eventually you're actually just going to feel very like the opposite of what you want. Like, why don't we do something different? Why don't we go somewhere else? There's other ways of enjoying besides this party scene. So these birds in the tree, the one of them is eating, and then eventually he realizes he can't get satisfaction from his eating all these fruits. So then he turns to the other bird, which is the super soul, and he starts to inquire. So, anyways, I had to compare this analogy. So I remember when I wrote this in my book, and then I go back and I reread it. I'm like, oh, that makes sense, you know? The drunk friend eventually turns to the sober friend and is like, man, I feel like I'm suffering. What's happening? And then he can properly, take shelter. So, of course, this is compared to the living entity who's enjoying in the material world, but are actually experiencing the suffering as well. And eventually, most of us become burnt out, and we turn towards something higher. What else is there? There must be something else here besides just this experiences of temporary pleasure and dissatisfaction. And one who has real intelligence, he can see, he has real knowledge, and he can see that that driven by the senses. So yeah, the one who has knowledge, who's in a clear position, they can see actually that the sense gratification people are pursuing is just them being driven by this need for sense gratification. And that's why we hear in Nectar of Instruction this famous verse, Vacho Vegam Manasa Krodha Vegam Jiva Vegam Buddha Pasta Vegam, that one who has control over all of his senses is eligible to make disciples all over the world. So that's having that ability to just control the senses is actually such a huge milestone in life, like a huge stepping stone in spirituality. Because the senses are quite hard to control. And I've heard that they work in a line. So like you control the tongue, then it's easier to control all the other senses as well. By eating appropriately and speaking about Krishna. And it's interesting this idea of being able to control. Like we can often think like, oh, the more control I have, the more someone's controlling me, then the less freedom I have, right? Because naturally control means like restriction, or even following principles. Like my family was here recently, and I was trying to explain that the more like we restrict our senses, the more we control ourselves, then it actually gives us freedom. Whereas the average materialist would think that the more we engage our senses in whatever we want to do, then the more freedom we have. But actually the mind doesn't work like that. The more freedom you give it, then the more it will like totally run loose. It'll actually be more distressed. Whereas if we restrict our mind, we just keep things very simple for ourselves, we set certain rules and values that we want to follow, then it becomes very easy to control the mind. Not that I can speak from experience, of course, but I've heard that it becomes easier to control the mind. And I've experienced this too, actually, when I was living in when I was living in ladies' ashram for so many years. That you just do the same thing every day. You wake up at the same time. You chant your rounds in the same amount of time. it takes you down to like, takes you an hour and 30 minutes and 25 seconds to channel all of your rounds. And then you exercise, you do your program, everything is the same, very systematic. Then yeah, there's actually a lot of peace in that. You're just not worried about so many things. Like, oh, life is just simple. It's just like this. It doesn't have to become stressful. So I also wanted to speak a little bit about this point of how Srila Prabhupada saying, if someone just surrenders once, then he'll never see the order carriers of Yamaraj, or he'll never go to these planets, the hellish planets, from just surrendering once. So I was thinking of some stories from Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, that this is like exemplified, where someone has just done one good thing or one thing for Krishna or surrendered in one way, and then from that he's been liberated, he's been purified. Can you guys think of any examples from Krishna book or Srimad Bhagavatam like that, where one personality has done one small thing that's considered Krishna takes his devotional service, and the rest of their life becomes purified?
Krishna spoke. I don't remember the name of the character. Wants to breastfed.
Putna, yes.
The poison. Krishna flew right over.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking of that one too with Putna. She like comes as a beautiful heavenly damsel to breastfeed Krishna, but her intention is killing him. She smears poison on her breasts. And then Krishna just say, this woman has come as my mother to feed me. And just like takes that one good thing and just totally gives her the position of mother. That kind of thing. Yeah. That's really nice. That's a good one. I was also thinking of Shishupal. He is he's one of the incarnations of Jai and Vijay. So it's a little different, but in his life he was born, from the moment he was born, he just hated Krishna. Like he just from the moment he was a child would always criticize Krishna. And when King Yudhishthira was having his Rajasuya sacrifice, and he had invited all the kings from all over the world to participate in the sacrificial performances. And then there was a time when they needed to inaugurate the first person to be worshipped. So this is like the most important personality in the world, the universe. So they agreed to nominate Krishna to be worshipped, to take the first worshiping, which would establish him as the most important person in the universe. So of course the Pandavas elected him because they're pure devotees, and everyone was getting ready to do this worship, and then Shishupal just couldn't take it. So he just got up and he started criticizing Krishna. But because he was saying Krishna's name so many times, Krishna saw, okay, like, yeah, this person he said my name so many times, I'll take this as a good quality. And then very skillfully cut off his head with his discus to avoid spilling any blood on the arena, which would contaminate the entire sacrifice. There's other reasons also for Shishupal's death, but this one was mentioned in a lecture that I heard. It was quite nice that, even though someone's like criticizing him repeatedly, still he just takes the good quality. I also heard in the one Prabhupada pastime that one reporter had written an article on Srila Prabhupada's movement that he was doing in the early days. And he was just like finding so many faults and criticizing. He was saying, these Krishnas, they do that, they do this, these Krishnas are doing this. And then these devotees brought the article to Srila Prabhupada and said, like, oh, look, this man is criticized so many times. Srila Prabhupada, just see how many times you said Krishna in this article. This is victory for us. So yeah, I thought this is very nice. And then another pastimes I thought of was, of course, we're reading the pastime of Ajmil right now in the 6th canto. We're going to hear much more about it in the coming chapters, but Ajmil is a really great example. How, he he had some smattering of bhakti in his early days, which is, I've heard, it wasn't bhakti as in devotional service to Krishna. It was more like family ritualistic performances of sacrifices. But he was, yeah, doing that, and then, his life took a little bit of a turn, and right up until he had his last son that he named Narayan. And I heard in an electric voice one of the told me that this is the this is the super soul in the heart. It's Krishna saying, okay, I see that you did some service for me in your earlier life, so now I want to bring you back. So I'm going to inspire you to name your son Narayan. So that every time you call your son with love and affection, you're actually also calling me. In this way, just by doing this like small little service a, with a with no like envy in the heart, no negative qualities, then yeah, he ended up perfecting his entire life just at the end. And I was listening to this lecture by Dharma Swami recently, and just yesterday actually, he was narrating this pastime that I hadn't heard before from Chaitanya Lila, where Lord Chaitanya, he's out with Advaitacharya, and they're just walking down the streets of Navadvip, and they walk past this like pub, this liquor, this bar basically, where all these drunkards are inside. And then as they're walking, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu suddenly goes into Balaram Bhav, because Lord Balaram likes to drink Varuni. So he goes into this Balaram Bhav and he starts looking at the pub, and he says to Advaitacharya, let's go inside, I want to go inside. And Advaitacharya is like, no, 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 you can't go inside. Listen, you can't do that. This is not going to work. And Lord Chaitanya, in this mood of like Balaram, it's like, no, no, let's go. I want to go inside. And eventually Advaitacharya is like, listen, if you go inside, I'm just going to kill myself, because I won't be able to explain to anybody what's going on here, because you're on a different mood right now. And um, this mood you're in is very specific, and it's actually not the mood you're bringing into your incarnation as Lord Chaitanya. So please, my Lord, do not do this. So eventually, due to the persistence of Advaitacharya, Lord Nityananda slowly calms down. He starts to come out of this mood of Balaram Bhav, and they keep walking. But the drunkards inside, they've seen Lord Chaitanya outside, and they're all very appreciative of his Harinam movement. So they start, in their drunken state, they start having a little like kirtan amongst themselves, and they start, sorry, the way that Maharaj is imitating it on the video is quite hysterical. They're like, Haribo, Haribo. They're like kind of bumping around and stumbling. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Like stumbling around like Hare Krishna, Chaitanya, Chaitanya. So they're kind of super intoxicated, bumbling around, and then they kind of like fall out into the street, and they're kind of like stumbling and like have their hands up, and they're Haribo, Bolo, Bolo, Krishna, Krishna, like this. And so then Advaitacharya starts to appreciate um, this this mood of these people who are totally intoxicated, but because they have no enmity in their heart towards Lord Chaitanya, that they're able to appreciate his movements, and they start chanting and bumbling around. So yeah, we hear that if one person just chants the holy name once without without committing any offenses, that they're liberated. So that guarantee is there. Now it's just a matter of time when it's in our hands of how much we want to take the efforts to make the steps to get there. And it's like, yeah, we get all these benedictions from reading Srimad Bhagavatam, like whoever hears this pastime will attain this place, will get the mercy of this devotee, will get a ticket back up to Godhead. So it's like this is all these benedictions we can get. We can achieve the liberation from just chanting Hare Krishna once. We can never see the associates of Yamaraj or go to the hellish planets, but it's just a matter of time. Some people, it doesn't mean that it'll happen right away. It might be like, okay, you've got the ticket now. Do you want to take it and go on the ride, or do you want to take it, put it in your pocket, go for a walk around the universe, and then go? So yeah, that was quite interesting. These different pastimes and all the different kind of benedictions that we can sort of get, and the different ways of seeing it and the different ways of practicing surrender. So I guess to summarize a little bit, we spoke on what surrender means, the different definitions that we have in our lives, different ways of applying it. And yeah, how we can surrender onto Krishna. Yeah, through the spiritual masters of mercy. I should Prabhupada is saying in my purport. Yeah, I guess I can finish there. Do you guys have any questions or comments or corrections from our in-person audience? Go to Zoom afterwards.
Thank you for your class. Really, I don't know about you guys. First hearing on the glories and Christian consciousness in your hair and surrounding you, you're like, it's good enough, and then
Yeah.
being a call, am I like gonna get greenwashed? No, I've heard many stories from the glories about that. And you just start to realize that you're giving up things, you're getting something better, and it's easy to give it up. Your devotional service, you want to change, you want to do that, just builds and it's becomes what you want to do instead of like a challenge or a task, and it's nice. It's just it's good, you know. And I appreciate your analogies. And then to start using your technique, because like one analogy, but like personalizing it, you know. That little tight sounds, the little tight kitchen.
Yeah.
It's funny because even it made me think of like even us doing this right now, we're like the kids practicing Krishna consciousness from our duty, and like in the spiritual it was way better than what we're doing now, and it's real, and we're just like the material doing our service. And it's like the Krishna's father, it's like the father is like, okay, well, I'll make you some food. We're practicing to being.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that's a nice point. Like saying that, yeah, we have in the beginning we come and we think, oh, surrender. That means like a cult, like I'm gonna join a cult, or they're gonna take something away from me. But yeah, actually, it's like we're giving up things that were necessarily to take on something nicer. I remember, I think someone telling me an analogy about this, like you just been grocery shopping and you have a bunch of bags in your car, and you're like, I'm gonna take all of these bags with me into the house in one trip, and you put them all on your arms, you know, and you pick them all up, and you're like, got it, and then you start turning around, and you're like, oh, I forgot one thing, and you go back and you try and pick it up, but you can't because your arms are full of bags. And it's just like this struggle, like I need this, but I can't, or I need to open the door, but I can't do it because my arms are full. And so then we eventually have to start putting things down. And then as we put things down, we feel lighter and we're able to actually do more things. So yeah, I thought this was a nice as well analogy. Like, yeah, we have all these attachments, but the more we start to put them down and take on other things, then we feel, oh, I feel lighter. Oh, I feel like I can actually do more. Yeah, we can experience Krishna consciousness on a different platform. So yeah, thank you. Do you have anything to
Or thoughts. Really nice to get so many examples. This verse is very long, so there's many parts that you can still really appreciate when it's told about the time that we in ashram, the experience, and I always try to have this in mind to just keep it simple, maintain the simple to the basic. This looks like simple in first moment, but actually you know that it's not, because it's not easy to maintain a routine, to try to maintain your sadhana. And remember that when I lived in ashram, it was like this too.
Yeah.
Okay, it's this, but always your mind tries to play tricks on you, and if you start to think that, okay, now got it, that's the moment when Maya comes and say, no.
Yeah. Nope. Yeah. That's true.
In the parlance of we always need to search for holidays in others. This reminds me. I remember that it was a really hard task for me, because there's so many people and devotees, and everyone is different from other. this is something that I always try to apply that simply follows in people, because we all have parts of us that we don't like, that we have difficulty with ourselves. It's much easier if we try to appreciate others instead of searching for parts that we have difficulty. This can make us work together in Christian consciousness instead of searching for reasons to disagreements.
Yeah, that's a really nice point. We should look for some good qualities in others instead of trying to find reasons to have disagreements with people. Like, cause
So the example that Prabhupada gave was the bee, right?
Mm.
The bee that searches for the nice flowers.
yeah,
Where is it? But I remember this example.
yeah. The bee is like the perfect example. He's always, I think it's in the 11th canto, like searching after the honey and the flowers, whereas the fly is always flying towards like the stool or unclean items. You want to be like the bee. Always look for the nectar. Yeah, that's a really good point. I liked how you're saying too about the the main being finding maintenance, like or maintaining like in the ashram setting it's easier because you're just kind of doing what everyone's telling you to do. But when you move out of the ashram, then yeah, it becomes a little more difficult. And then but it's comforting to know like you've got like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Vishnu. Brahma creates, Lord Shiva destroys, and Vishnu maintains, and it's the hardest job to maintain. Is to like maintain your sadhana. I'm finding here like going to bed at the same time or even reasonable time, waking up early, chanting all your rounds, like and then doing all the small things that you have to do to make sure that we're chanting attentive chakra. Eating the right thing so you don't fall asleep here, like making sure you can get some reading in, do your service, do your work, etc. So yeah, just finding that maintaining, finding a nice balance in your life can also be really hard service. But one devotee told me when I was asking her one mentor, like, it seems like I was constantly having to rearrange things. Like this week I do it like this, and this week I have to do it like that. Then this week I do it like this. So exhausting. When will ever just be stable? But yeah, life you just have to constantly arrange and rearrange your life in order to serve Krishna best. Otherwise, how could you give up on the relationship with Krishna? See, I remember that really struck me. Like, okay, it's just a constant like, do like this, do like this, do like this, in order to find some sort of stability. Yeah. Thanks, Risha. Does anybody on Zoom have any comments or questions or reflections? Yashodeva says, acceptance of those things favorable for devotional service, rejecting unfavorable things, the conviction that Krishna will give protection, accepting the Lord as one's guardian and master, full self-surrender and humility. Okay. Last call for comments from Zoom. All right, we'll end there. Ganchaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Let's go to Vaishnava ki. Nitai Gaur Vimanandi.